Hello, everyone, and welcome to a WFUV Sports exclusive interview. I am Tucker Austin alongside my colleague Kurt Sippel, and we have the pleasure of welcoming back someone who has covered the New York Football Giants and the New York Jets for close to 30 years now. Newsday NFL columnist Tom Rock joins us today. Tom, it's great to have you back on WFUV Sports. How are you doing today?
What's up, guys? It's great to be back in football season. I can't believe the summer's over now, and we're rolling right into these preseason games here at MetLife Stadium tonight.
I know all the hype for the football season, it's building. Uh, but that being said, the Giants and Jets have already held a joint practice, and they've got a preseason game scheduled for Saturday night. Starting broadly here with our questions, what is the most important development that you're looking out for both the Jets and the Giants in this preseason game in week two?
Well, just from watching the joint practices, I think it was pretty clear that both teams should be very happy with their defense, and both teams should be a little concerned about their offense. There wasn't a lot going on in terms of big plays, big splash plays, big dynamic plays. Now, some of that may have been on the Giants' half because Malik Neighbors wasn't on the field. He wasn't practicing, and that's obviously a concern. And so too is the concern that Andrew Thomas is not on the field yet, and he's coming back from that Frank injury, and we're getting really close to being starting to get concerned about him being available for the opener at left tackle. And obviously, we saw what happened last year. They had a really good offensive line, I thought, for the first half of the year. Andrew Thomas went down, and it all just nosedived right down. So if you don't have Andrew Thomas, I don't think you have a lot with the Giants. I'm a little less concerned about Malik Neighbors. We'll see what he can do. There may be times during the season where he misses a game or two. I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing. For the Jets, though, they're definitely a run the ball team. And watching Justin Fields throw the ball, they had trouble protecting him, which is a compliment to the Giants pass rush, but also a little bit of a concern for the Jets offensive line. But when he did throw the ball, it was sometimes a little erratic, and so they always say the Jets have been saying that they're going to play to the strengths of Justin Fields this year, which means running the ball a lot and running him a lot. And playing to his strengths is kind of a euphemism for we don't think he can throw it very well, and so we're gonna find out real quick what he's able to do. We don't know for sure who's going to be playing tonight in this preseason game, but it sure seems like both coaches are of the school of thought now that they want to get their guys ready for the regular season and have been playing them. So I'm expecting to see all of the healthy starters available on the field for both teams.
Well, Tom, I just wanted to dive a little bit more into that defense that you were talking about before, because I was reading a lot about how the Giants defense was giving a lot of issues to the Jets line, rushing Justin Fields a lot. Just what did you see out of that Giants defense that made the Jets really have to rush their passes and ju make Justin Fields running around the back a lot?
Well, two words is Abdul Carter. I mean, he's just a handful for anybody, and we saw him in just a handful of snaps against the Bills last week in the preseason opener. How dominant he can be, and he can just take over a game, and it's going to be fun to watch how they deploy him and how they use him. But I think the rest of the crew too is really coming in with sort of their hair on fire and wanting to make an impact on this season. Kayvon seems like he's playing at a different level, different mentality. Brian Burns has added a lot to his game. In fact, we spoke to Burns a little bit this week, and he said he's been talking to Dexter Lawrence about how to use his power rushes more than just his speed and his athleticism, which have been his primary tools for most of his career. And I think he's going to have a great year because of the attention that Abdul's going to get, and Dexter is naturally going to get it in the middle. And then you have Dexter, who's really not. We haven't seen full blown Dex yet because he's still coming back from that elbow, and they're kind of easing him back. But he's getting there, and maybe there's 4 or 5 snaps a day in practice where he goes full throttle, and you can tell when those ones are because the earth kind of shakes under him, and it's really fun to watch. So yeah, that Giants defensive front is going to be something. And then there's a couple of other pieces too. You have Nacho, who's a good defensive tackle. They have a couple of rookies, a couple of other guys that they'll be mixing in. And then you have the linebackers. I mean, McFadden is such a fun player to watch, and Bobby Okereke, and the two of them, they're just going to be cleaning up, I think, behind those guys. So I think that the Giants' defensive front is really going to be a strength of this team, which is a good thing because when you look at most of their championship teams over the years, that's always been the case.
Yeah, they showed a lot of razor sharp teeth in that preseason opener against the Bills. And this defense should carry the Giants a pretty long way during the regular season. But it's going to be an uphill battle. The Giants' opponents this year had a combined .574 win percentage last season. It gives the Giants the unfortunate honor of the hardest strength of schedule in the NFL in the 25-26 season. How will this impact the Giants' ability to develop as a team, especially with a totally revamped quarterback room?
Yeah, that's a beast of a schedule. You start out at Washington, which is obviously was in the NFC Championship game a year ago, and has probably the brightest up and coming quarterback in the league. And then you're at Dallas, which is always a headache for the Giants. And then you come home and it's Kansas City in prime time, and then the Chargers come in the week after that. So now all of a sudden you're looking at the possibility of being 0-4 in that kind of a hole. And so the Giants really have to find a way to get off to a quick start. Uh, their home schedule this year is really even harder than their road schedule. I think there's a couple of wins that you can kind of pencil in and say if they play well, they can win at New England, they can win at New Orleans, a couple other spots, but really, I mean, they're not that good of a team that they can just walk in there and do that. I mean, they still have to play well. If they don't play well in New Orleans, the Saints are going to beat them. So no matter who that quarterback is for either team. So this is going to be a really daunting year for the Giants, I think. It's one of those years where I don't think the schedule is going to reflect where they're at. I know Bill Parcells always had that, you are what your record says you are thing, but I think this is a year where that's going to be a little bit different, and they're going to be I think they're a much better team than they were last year. I don't know that they'll have a much better record than they had last year. I mean, 3 wins is hard to do worse than, but I could, I'm not seeing more than 6 wins, maybe 7, and I think given the schedule and if they play competitively in those games, I think that would be a success.
Well, Tom, I wanted to shift the focus maybe to the new Giants quarterback that they drafted, Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
In a recent podcast that you did, you called him a gamer. So, what can you expect from Jackson Dart that makes him a gamer, and what should fans look at that we see his skills really shine?
Well, what I thought was that in practice he's okay. He's good. He's fine. And then he gets to the joint practices and he's a little bit better, a little sharper, a little more fiery. And then we saw him in Buffalo and it was a totally different level. So I think that's what I was getting at as far as being a gamer, that he's a guy that ups his performance to the stage that he's on. And he said something very interesting the other day. He said we always want to play at the biggest we want to play in the biggest games on the biggest stages. And obviously he's talking about being in playoff games and playoff contention and things like that. But for him, that's not something that he's shying away from. And for a kid from Utah and Ole Miss, I'm sure you saw the viral video of him trying to figure out his easy pass tolls, getting around New Jersey and things like that. He can be a little overwhelmed by the big city here, but I don't think he's going to be overwhelmed by the big football.
Yeah, that was so funny to me. Just living in New Jersey, having experience with Easy Pass and having Jackson Dart come in and just like the disconnect, like he's racking up fines just going past the toll. It was really funny. But just to
Wait till wait
polish
till
things
he's
off,
wait till he's got to pay somebody to pump his gas for him.
He's going to be out of his car at the pump already.
Those
Uh,
jug handle turns are a pain in the neck.
but just to polish things off here with a couple of Jets questions,
Yeah.
Tom. ESPN article came out a couple of days ago, revealed that the Jets have some plans to quote unleash Brees Hall this season, particularly with reference to the passing game and his pass catching ability. So, do you foresee a big step forward for Brees Hall in the pass catching department in his fourth NFL season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always been something that's kind of been untapped in him. Uh, he's his offensive coordinators in the past have always said that he's good at it, but haven't really gone to that. And so I think now when you have a quarterback who is probably a lot more comfortable throwing those kind of short passes to running backs, which is another euphemism if we go back to what we're talking about with Justin Fields. Uh, I think he's going to be a big part of that, and we've already seen him lined up a little bit on the outside, a little bit in the slot, uh, doing different things. Braylon Allen too. He's got some pretty good hands. I mean, he's got a lot of good things going for him in terms of his physicality as a runner and straight ahead, and he can kind of get underneath there and plow the snow and for a first down. But he's got some decent hands too. So yeah, I think the running backs are going to be a big part of the passing game this year for the Jets. I would not be surprised if some one of them, at least one of those two, has winds up having more receiving touchdowns than rushing touchdowns.
Last question here for you, Tom. In your article about a week ago for Newsday, you posed that Justin Fields needs to show he can be a leader on this Jets team. My question here is do you have more of a concern that Fields won't be able to step into that role, or that on the chance that he doesn't, the Jets, aside from Tyrod Taylor, who's coming off of knee surgery, lack any notable backups to Justin Fields?
Well, that definitely is a concern, right? Because Tyrod Taylor is a really good backup quarterback to have if you need him to finish up a game, to finish up to start two games in a row. If you need him to ride out the season, I'm not sure that he's the guy for you because he may not stay healthy, and he has no track record really of being that guy. So, or at least not in the last few years. So he's not the guy for that kind of a role. He's a great film room guy. He's a great quarterback room guy. He's a great sideline guy. He is the guy you want in the ear of a young developing quarterback. And that's really what Justin Fields is, right? And this is kind of his last chance to show that he is that first round pick that he was from the Bears a few years ago. So where does Justin Fields fit into this? He's kind of a quiet guy. He's not a yeller. He's not a screamer. Um, he's not particularly vocal. He's not going to get in guys' faces. I think you kind of need that as from your quarterback these days. And you look at what the Giants had in Daniel Jones the last few years, and they were kind of in the same situation where their quarterback wasn't their leader. The soul of the team didn't flow through that position, and I think it needs to, at least on the offense. And the Giants have that in spades by threefold with the guys that they have, because Dart certainly has that kind of a moxie and that kind of an attitude, and Russell Wilson is he all he is attitude, and Jameis Winston of course is the great entertainer, so he's gonna bring fire and brimstone every time he talks. So the Giants have a lot of that. The Jets, where are they going to get that from? They have a lot of quiet guys on that offense. I'm a little worried about it. Garrett Wilson, great player, kind of a quiet to himself guy. Brees Hall, really good player, kind of sticks to himself, kind of goes about his own business. The offensive line, those guys are offensive linemen. They're focused on their thing, and they're not really looking for the spotlight. So you got to find somebody on that offense who's going to grab guys by their shirt collars and shake them up once in a while. And I'm not so sure Justin Fields is that guy.
Yeah, and I
Maybe
know I said
Aaron
last
Glenn
two
is. Maybe Aaron
questions.
Glenn is. Maybe
Yeah,
maybe that's Aaron Glenn's job because he's really good at that.
Well,
Yeah,
Tom,
and
actually,
that's exactly what Kurt has right here. This is going to be the last question from Kurt now.
it was my question was exactly that. Aaron Glenn is that loud voice that we've been hearing a lot in the locker room, in the press conferences, all of that. So what have you seen from Aaron Glenn's leadership overall that tells you that the Jets might be in for a culture change when they've been lacking a lot of leadership over almost their entire existence?
Yeah, I think Aaron Glenn is the answer, but I think that there's a lot of questions still, and it's going to take some time for him to clean out the old and bring in the new. And he's got some of his guys now, and they're buying in and they're saying the right things, and especially on defense, they seem to really be reacting to him. Uh, but it's going to take some time. I'm not so sure that the Jets are an ocean liner that you can turn around real quick here. They've been heading in the wrong direction for a long time, and it's tough to rudder them to the right direction. They've made some really good choices. I like the way that Aaron runs. The front office, Rogers had to go. That was not going to be a sustainable situation for him to for them to bring in a new regime and keep Rogers here. Fields, we'll see where that decision winds up. But it's still only a 2-year commitment that they made to him, so they're not locked in, and maybe next year they're looking to draft a quarterback. We'll find out. But
Yeah,
I think if they as long as Woody gives Aaron Glenn and Darren Moogie the space that they need to do this right, and the time that they need to do this right, I think they can get it done. I think this is the most promising regime that the Jets have had in a while, and the fact that Woody has said that he wants to be a better owner, which is shorthand for getting the hell out of the way. I think that's really promising too, as long as he sticks to that.
yeah. Big takeaway, I think, is that it's a transformative time in New York football for both of these teams. And Tom, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We appreciate it as always. For Kurt Sippel and for our guest, Tom Rock, I am Tucker Austin saying so long from this WFUV Sports exclusive interview. Don't go anywhere because we'll be right back with more one on one on 90.7 FM WFUV Sports.